What will happen to your body if you only eat meat for a year? The result is beyond your imagination. When the stood up, demanding everyone around the world to eat less meat and more vegetables, Harvard University manpower scientist and explorer Vilhjalmur Stefansson in 1906 went to the North Pole and lived with the Inuits for many years and insistently only ate meat year after year. Today, let's follow the explorer to see what happens if you only eat meat for a year. In 1913, Stefansson returned to the US and wrote an article advocating a full meat diet, but it was questioned by the outside world. In 1928, Stefansson, in order to break the prejudice and doubt of vegetarians to prove to humanity that eating meat is not scary but healthy, he brought along his friend explorer from Denmark, Carsten Andersen. They kicked off a full meat diet experiment for a year that stirred the entire US at that time. As soon as the experiment started, after they had a full body health check, they stayed in the hospital for the experiment. Every day, over a dozen nutritionists, anthropologists, and physicians supervised their full meat diet. More than half a month later, Stefansson went home to continue his one-year-only meat no veggies experiment, but Andersen stayed in the hospital for 3 months before continuing the experiment at home. At first, Americans watching thought they would get tired of eating meat with such a single food plan. They could eat not only steak, pork chops, pigs, chicken, duck, fish, as well as all kinds of livers and brains. Later, it was assumed they would suffer from constipation and severe scurvy because they only ate meat and no vegetables. Because human dietary structure has always regarded the combination of meat and vegetables highly, if you only eat meat, the intake of vitamin C needed by the human body will be insufficient. The body won't be able to produce collagen, also affecting the normal functioning of the kidneys. Severe cases can also threaten life. Is it really as the watching Americans think? What will happen to people who only eat meat for a year? On the first day of only eating meat, Stefansson and Andersen did not feel unwell. In the first week of only eating meat, the two of them visibly lost weight because human bodies need energy, which is provided by glucose converted from carbohydrates. Typically, when eating meat, because of the repeated supply of carbohydrates, fat, and important proteins, these will be used instead by the body and burned, achieving the effect of fat loss. It is okay to adopt this approach in the short term, but it will harm the body if maintained for a long time. After only eating meat for half a month, Stefansson's blood pressure remained constant, while Andersen's systolic blood pressure declined. So Stefansson, whose physical signs were normal, returned home over half a month later to continue the experiment. After only eating meat for 3 months, both of them had very healthy guts. So Andersen also returned home from the hospital. After insisting on only eating meat for half a year, both went to the hospital for testing, due to an almost purely lean diet which resulted in the two of them consuming more than 40% of their calories from protein, causing gastrointestinal dysfunction. Constipation did not appear, instead varying degrees of diarrhea occurred. Actually, this is also the reason why Stefansson deliberately changed the dietary structure to verify the impact of lean meat on humans. As long as the protein content is gradually reduced and fat intake is increased, diarrhea will not occur. After 8 months to confirm that the two had kidney problems, urine and blood tests were carried out for nitrogen components. Unfortunately, the nutritionists did not get the results they wanted, as there was no damage to the kidneys. After 10 months, nutritionists examined their bodies and surprisingly, they didn't have any vitamin deficiencies, let alone scurvy. This confused people, as Stefansson and Andersen hadn't eaten any vegetables or fruits. So how exactly was vitamin C supplemented? Can you believe it? A person who ate only meat for a straight year not only had a normal mental state, but also didn't experience any physiological changes in their body. After Stefansson and Andersen successfully persisted in eating only meat for a year, the terrible situation that Americans always assumed didn't happen. A significant weight loss and a very healthy stomach were noted. The one-year all-meat challenge was Stefansson's personal experience against vegetarians, also proving that a full meat diet is feasible because last-century capitalists smeared fat to cover the harm of sugar, making Americans subconsciously believe eating too many things like butter, lard, and other saturated fats will result in heart disease, so they abandoned animal fat and switched to vegetable oil. Americans are getting more and more obese, and more people are suffering from heart disease, but only the French, who love to eat meat rich in saturated fats, have fewer heart disease cases and have a fit physique. Stefansson and Andersen persisted in eating only meat for a year and did not suffer from scurvy because animal skin also contains large amounts of vitamin C, like the beluga skin that the Inuit people love to eat. Plus, glucose and vitamin C are in competition, so when carbohydrates in the all-meat diet are reduced, glucose is also reduced, leading to a reduced need for vitamin C in the human body. Later, Stefansson returned to a normal diet, but his mood became unstable, his weight skyrocketed, and he even developed a mild cerebral thrombosis. To recover his health, in 1955 he again started an all-year all-meat diet, and lived until he died at the age of 82. It is said that in the Arctic coastal areas, Inuits, in order to survive, don't get to see any green food in their regular diet at all. It's all high-fat and high-protein meat. Walruses, seals, whales, salmon, whitefish, as well as ducks, eggs. The all-meat diet gives the Inuit people super resistance to extreme environments. And their bones and muscle tissue are extraordinary. You don't see obesity, heart, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and cancer among them. All you can see are flawless teeth without a single cavity. Do you dare to sustain an all-year meat diet?